Woohoo, we are live. This is the Math 40 Chapter 2 practice test. Yay! And although this is printed out, there is a PDF that you can print out too. This test will be taken online. And so these problems are going to be multiple choice and or matching. And so what I've done is for each of the problems I've written, I've copied the problem exactly as it appears on the test. And then I've written out the possible answers. And instead of, clicking on one, we're just going to circle the one that's correct. So hopefully this gets us close to the approximation of what you should be doing for the test. Now for the test, you are allowed to have a calculator available. So, keep a calculator close by. A scientific calculator is best because it gives you a lot of flexibility. And you are also, for the practice test, you have unlimited tries, unlimited time. For the actual test, you have 90 minutes. And so I'm hoping that this practice test doesn't take us more than 30, so you can see how you can get through it. There will be one other component that we won't be doing, of course, which is actually entering the answers online, but hopefully that's not too tricksy. I do encourage you to write down the problems and solve them on paper, especially if it turns out you don't get the problem right. You'll be able to ask me questions. So if you've got the work down, I can take a look at it and we can see what's up if it's not quite working. So let's get going. Woohoo! So first one is 10 points. It is solving for x. This is an equation. 3x minus 6 equals negative 6x plus 3. As usual, we have to decide which side the x will go on. Because this is a positive 3x and this is a negative 6x, I'm going to move the x's over onto the left because that's a bigger number. 3 is greater than negative 6. So then I have to remember how to undo a negative 6. And the way I undo it is by adding 6x. So that I get 9x minus 6 on the left and just 3 on the right. And I'm going to do the same thing. If the x's are over here on the left, I'm going to move the numbers over to the right. So I'm going to add 6 to both sides. And remember the rule. The rule is if you have, and I do, if you have something that can help you delineate where the equal signs are, whenever you work on both sides, when I add the 6x or I add the 6, notice there's 1 on each side. So if you put a little stick or a pen down on the equal signs, you should see one of these on each side. If both of them are on one side, then you need to spread them out. There needs to be 1 on each side. Okay, so then these cancel out. I get 9x equals 9. And then if I have 9x equals x, I want 9x equals 9. I want to isolate x. And so I'm going to divide by 9 because this is 9 times x. So I'm going to do 9x divided by 9. And in both cases, I can cancel the 9s. And I end up with x equals 1, which I notice is one of the answers. Now, that's not a guarantee you got it right, but hopefully if I put the test together well, the answer you get should be available there. And if it's not available, then either I've made a mistake or you've made a mistake. So either way, we should probably talk about it. Okay, so we got the first one. And again, this won't be exactly the problem on the test, but it'll be very, very similar. So hopefully if this technique makes sense, then you should be golden for the test. Number 2, 10 points as well. This one's significantly more difficult. We've got an equation just like we had before, but now we've got a whack ton of fractions. Yay, fractions, right? So the first thing I'm going to do is actually, before I write down the equation, is I'm going to think about my denominators. My denominators are 6, 3, and 9. And I'm going to come up with a least common denominator. And my least common denominator, number that 6, 3, and 9 all go into. Now, there are a bunch of them. There are a bunch of numbers that are common multiples or a common denominator for these. For example, all three numbers would go into 54. 6 goes into 54, 3 goes into 54, and 9 goes into 54. However, it's not the best I can do. I'm looking for the smallest number. And I think about it, and I think, okay, 6 doesn't go into 9, but 2 times 9 is 18. 6 goes into 18, 3 goes into 18, and so does 9. So that's my least common denominator. Okay, so I'm going to take the 18, and I'm going to multiply it times every term in the problem. So you can see that I've got the 18 here. Let's try not to go to Smeary Town. There we go. 18 times each of those. Now, if I've picked a good least common denominator, I will be able to cancel. You know what? Let me do that in the next step down so you can see it. 5, 6a equals 18 over 1 times the parentheses aren't necessary. And this was a style choice. I could have also put this minus out in front. That's really up to you. So I'm going to cancel the 6 with the 18, and that gives me 3. I'm going to cancel the 3 with the 18. That gives me 6. Make sure not to forget that that's a minus sign right there. And the 9 and the 18 cancel to make 2. Now, if you pick a good least common denominator, all the denominators should cancel completely. And here we've got 3 times 5a equals 6 times the opposite, negative 1a, minus 2 times 21. So that's, let's see, 15a equals negative 6a minus 42. Okay. And then what I'm going to do here is I'm going to go ahead and say, I'm going to move the a's over to the left. So I'm going to add 6a to both sides. 21a equals negative 42. 21a equals negative 42. I'm going to divide by 21. A equals negative 2. And as I look up here, oh my goodness, now you're going to notice a coincidence here. When I print these out, when they print out this way, a lot of the answers are going to be the first one. Now, will that happen for you? No, it won't be set up that way. The problems will print out in all sorts of different orders. But for me, when I'm copying them down and I'm looking at the teacher's version, most of the time, the correct answer is the first one. So that's the first page. And we've only taken 8 minutes, which is really awesome. But I completely forgot to check. Now, it doesn't say you have to, but you know what? It isn't that hard, especially for the first one. So I'm actually going to include a check for both of these. So I want to check, let's see, we got x equals 1. And our equation was 3x minus 6 equals negative 6x plus 3. So 3 times 1 minus 6, is that equal to negative 6 times 1 plus 3? So this is 3 minus 6, which is negative 3. And then over here, this is negative 6 plus 3, which is also negative 3. Yay, they match up. That's awesome. Yay. Okay, number 2. Now, you can see why I'm a little more with this one. And that is that this one has a lot of fractions in it. So it just means we got to take our time. Okay, so what was x or a equal to? A was equal to negative 2. So I'm going to plug it in. Try not to panic with fractions. It's easy to panic with fractions, and it's easy to just foolishly make little mistakes. Okay. Okay, 5, 6 times negative 2. Is that equal to negative 1/3 times negative 2 minus 21 over 9? Well, let's see. Okay, so over here on the left, I've got 5/6 times negative 2 over 1. I got a couple options. I could go ahead and cancel here, or I could just multiply straight across. And that's completely up to you which approach you take. I'm going to multiply across. So 5 times negative 2 is negative 10. 6 times 1 is 6. And then what I'll probably do is go ahead and reduce it, because I'm looking at that going, yeah, I'll go ahead and reduce it. So notice I can reduce by 2's, which I could see right there. Negative 5 over 1/3. And some of you are asking, well, how do you know when to reduce it? And the answer is, you won't always. Just try different things, especially with fractions. Remember that when you're checking, you're more likely to make the mistake checking than doing the original problem. So just be gentle with yourself and understand that doesn't always work out, but boy, it feels good when it does. So it's worth a try. Okay, negative 1/3 times negative 2. I'm going to go ahead and take advantage of the fact that a negative times a negative is a positive. So 1/3 times 2 over 1 minus 21 over 9. So I get 2/3 over here minus 21 over 9. And I noticed something. 21 over 9 can be reduced. Notice 3 goes in the top and the bottom. So I get here 2/3 minus 7/3, which is 2 minus 7/3, which is negative 5/3. Oh my goodness. Oh my goodness. Isn't this exciting? Woohoo. I'm so very excited. Okay, so we did a fairly complicated check. And granted, I know I do this for a living, but it's not that unreasonable as I'm talking through it that you could do it about this fast. I still have used less than 15 minutes, and I'm going to have 90 minutes for the whole test. So again, hopefully this isn't the most super long test ever. We'll see. Okay, next problem. Number 3, a water bottle that originally sold for $13. So the original price was $13, is marked down to $11.59. Okay, new price. $11.59. Find the percent decrease in the price of the water bottle. Round your answer to the nearest whole percent. So there are a couple ways to do this. I think the way that the book tells you is a very consistently good way to do it, but it's also a long way. And I know that some of you know shortcuts. So if you know shortcuts, use them. If you're thinking, wow, I want to learn shortcuts, come to my office hours, come to Pronto, say, hey, I'd like to learn shortcuts. And I'll be like, I got lots of shortcuts. So, but since you haven't asked, because let's be honest, this is a video recording and I am not that psychic. So I'll go ahead and do it the book way. The book way is a little bit on the long side, but it is solid and it will get you there. And so the book's method is to set up a whole equation. So when we're talking about pricing, we've got the decrease. I want to use the wording that I've got in this problem. The decrease is what percent of, and here's the tricky thing, you have to, I'm all slanty. I'm in a good mood, right? If it goes up, you're in a good mood. If it goes down, you're having a rough day. That's what I've heard. So either that or I'm sitting sideways at my desk. The decrease is what percent of, and then you have to remember what it is. And whenever we're looking at percent increase or decrease, we're always looking from the original. Oh my gosh. Let me try using actual English here. Sorry about that. The decrease is what percentage of the original price. question mark. There we go. Okay, so we're going to need a number of things. The decrease. The decrease is what we get when we use a calculator, personally. Now, if you happen to know that the answer is going to be $1.41 just by looking at it, you're awesome. But I'm going to double check myself because I don't trust myself. $1.41, woohoo! Little dance party for doing subtraction correctly in our head. Dun, 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 dun. Okay, so $1.41 is the decrease. That's how much the price went down. That is not the old price or the new price. It's the difference between them. So again, I got this from taking 13 minus 11.59. So this is the change or difference or difference. Okay, is equals what percent, we don't know, of the original price. The original price was 13. And then here, and here's where the book and I differ, because the book said use X over 100. And I said, you know what, just use X. Don't mess with the 100. We'll sort it out when we get to the end. But if you like the 100 method, use X over 100 if you prefer. So that is really your personal style, what you like best. So I've got $1.41 equals 13x. Can I do that? Do you guys mind? X times 13 becomes 13x. And if anyone ever asks you, say it's just because Miss Saunders said so. Or you could say it's the commutative property. And then go zoom, zoom. And pretend like you're like a car. Or like use the steering wheel, right? That's kind of driving. Okay, so say zoom, zoom and look mysterious. It's math poetry, really, what it is. Okay, $1.41 equals 13x. How do I solve for x? Well, I'm going to divide both sides by 13. Now, here's where that shortcut comes in. A lot of people know already that what you do is you take the difference over the original. And if you know that shortcut, the great thing about doing online tests is I'm not asking you for your work. So this all doesn't have to be beautiful. It can be really kind of however you want to organize it. And you can do the whole thing in your calculator. Now, I encourage you to write stuff down because, again, if you make a mistake and you don't have your work written down, it'll be hard for me to help show you how to change things, how to approach it maybe a little differently. But it is an option. So if you want to just go straight, do this whole thing in your calculator, this problem could take you like 30 seconds if you'd like. Okay, so 1.41 over 13 equals x, or x equals $1.41 over the original 13. So that's the decrease over the original. Okay, notice I left that in my calculator. It's already there, so I just divide by 13, and that gives me 0.10846 and some other numbers. Now, here's where you have to remember this. I did not put the 100 in, so this is not a percent. This is a decimal. This is not a percent yet. This is a decimal. So as a percent, what I have to do is I have to move the decimal point 2 places to the right, make it bigger. So I get 10.846 and some other stuff percent. And then I go up to the top again. And it says, round your answer to the nearest whole percent, okay? So I'm going to come down here, 10.8%. Really, if I'm going to round that, that goes up to 11%. So let's check the possible answer, see if it's there. Oh my goodness, it is. And look how smart I was. I put it in the middle. I didn't leave it at the front. Ooh, it's exciting. And now it's number C. What do you guys think? I round it to the nearest percent. So that's a little sneaky thing you got to do at the end that might trip some people up. But we got it. There it is. And we're 30 points out of 50. We're more than halfway through the test. This is very exciting. And then, oh no, it's the word problem. Now, On this online test, I have set it up so you're allowed to do the problems in any order you'd like. You see all the problems at once. So if you're looking at this going, I'm not doing the word problem until the end, then don't do the word problem until the end. You know, you can always skip to the inequality, but I'm going to go ahead and do them in order. I don't know why, because they're there. So how many pounds of tea that sells for $15 per pound must be added to 10 pounds of tea that sells for $7 per pound to create a blend that sells for $9.50 per pound? Round your answer to the nearest tenth of a pound. Okay, so for this one, I'm going to create a chart. Do you have to create a chart? Not at all. Some people find the charts really helpful. Some people find the charts really annoying. If you find it really annoying, don't use it. If you know how to get to the equations without the chart, awesome. When I was young in the 1640s, we didn't have charts yet. No one had invented charts. So we just did math, you know, with sticks and our fingers, not even calculators. We had to come up with equations without charts. It was very sad. Okay, plus, you know, we all died from paper cuts and infections. It was a rough time to be alive, let's be honest. So on my chart, what I'm going to do is I'm going to note that this is a mixture problem, and I'm mixing things. I'm blending. This is like this is a tea blending problem. I could have one of the chemistry problems, the alcohol or the acid problems. There's a coffee problem. I think there's some nuts problems. I mean, there are all sorts of different problems that we can play with. This one happens to be tea. It is a mixture problem. And so I'm going to do the $15 per pound tea must be added to 10 pounds of tea that costs $7 per pound to create a blend that sells for $9.50. So I'm going to add these two. I'm going to add them together, and they're going to give me that. This is the mixture. This is the blend. So I'm going to start with the amount, and it does tell me an amount, 10 pounds, and the 10 pounds of tea that sells for $7 is right here. Now, in this class, for the most part, all of the units are going to match up. But again, let me make the point that you always want to double check that the pounds and the pounds match up. If this were ounces and this is pounds, we'd have to convert something. So just be aware, but this works out just fine. Okay, I don't know how much of this I'm going to use, so I'm going to use X because I'm going to guess that a lot of people would use X. You could use any other letter you like, and because this is an online test, you can use any sort of markings because you're not going to be turning it in. So again, you've got the flexibility of setting it up exactly the way you'd like to. Okay, next up, I'm going to do the price, which I already have. It's $15 per pound, then $7 per pound, then $9.50 per pound. And then I'm going to put in here, and I think we usually call this the total cost or the total price. And I'll remind you with mixture problems, we usually set them up so we can multiply. So I take the number of pounds times the price per pound, and that gives me the total cost. That's why this works in this chart, this kind of mixture problem. So I've got X times 15, which I can write as 15X, then 10 times 7, which is 70. And then I realized this is missing. So I got to think about this. Do I know how many pounds I'm going to end up with? And the answer is no. However, I do know that as we come down, since I'm mixing these two together to get this line, this last line, I'm going to be adding as we go down. So this is X plus 10. So this is a little bit messy down here, but basically I got to take X plus 10 in parentheses times 950, or 9.5 times X plus 10. Okay, so in this case, I can notice that I only have one variable. This is slightly different. Those of you who maybe are working ahead or you've taken algebra before, you know that sometimes we come up with these problems where we've got an x and a y. This just has x. So we only need one variable. We have one variable, so we only need one equation. And I noticed that this right here, so I have my beautiful, I want to go to blue. And I'm afraid I may end up taking you to Smeary Town, hopefully not too badly. If we look at this last column, I see that I get 15x plus 70 equals 9.5 times the quantity x plus 10. Do you see that? Now, if we had an x and a y, we would also look at this first column, but notice x plus 10 is x plus 10. That doesn't tell us anything. So this is kind of interesting, though. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to multiply out 15x plus 70 equals 9.5x plus 9.5x plus 9.5 times 10. That's 95. And you can double check on your calculator if you'd like. All the papers are trying to get all the attention. They're like, pay attention to me. It's like, no, we finished you. You're done. You just sit and wait. Math can be so impatient sometimes, you know. So I've got this lovely equation here. I got 15x on this side, 9.5x on the right. I'm going to move all the x's to the left. If you are not sure, you can do 15 minus 9.5, 5.5x. If you can do that in your head, awesome. You guys are wonderful and amazing and miraculous. 5.5x equals 25. Okay, so 25 divided by 5.5 is, okay, now I see why the answer was what it said. It said round your answer to the nearest tenth of a pound. Because my answer, I get, oh, I didn't even write, I got so excited about working it out. So it's 4.54545. It's a cool repeating pattern, isn't it? So I'm going to approximate x to be, now I'm going to the 10th. So I want to go to that decimal, that digit. So I look here and 4 is below 5. 5 goes up, 4 comes down. So I'm going to approximate this as 4.5, not 4.6. So let's see if I've got that answer. Woohoo, I do. It's right there, 4.5. We are on a roll. We're at 27, about 28 minutes, and we're on the last one. Woohoo! Yay! So hopefully you're seeing how that this test will be possible, because once I get to 30 minutes on your test, you would still have another hour to work. Okay, so this last one is an inequality. This is from section, I want to say 2.7, I think. We did all the inequalities. And so I'm just going to go ahead. The opposite of x minus 10 all over 2 less than or equal to x plus 4. First thing you've got to do, equations or inequalities, you want to clear fractions. So let's clear the fractions. I'm going to multiply everybody by 2. 2 over 1 times the opposite of x minus 10 over 2 less than or equal to 2 times x plus 2 times 4. Make sure when you clear the fraction, make sure you multiply times every single term. Notice that I used 2 over 1 for this one because it's a fraction, but these are whole, well, they're effectively whole numbers. I don't know what x is, but it appears as a whole number. Okay. Now, I also asserted something that perhaps we should talk about. Notice I didn't change the inequality symbol, and that's because I'm multiplying by positive 2. That doesn't change any of the inequalities, flipping them around. Okay, the opposite of x minus 10 less than or equal to 2x plus 2 times 4 is 8. Now you get to make some decisions. And I have to sit here and guess which one you make. So I'm going to go ahead and bring the x's over to the left. I'm going to guess that a lot of people do that. To be honest, I would probably bring the x's to the right myself. But let's go ahead and bring them over to the left. Now, if I subtract 2x from both sides, I do not change the inequality. If I add 10 to both sides, I do not change the inequality. However, if I divide both sides by a -3, what's going to happen? If you multiply or divide by a negative number, when you multiply or divide by a negative, flip the inequality sign. Okay, so if I'm dividing both sides by -3, I have to change this to a greater than or equal to. Notice how it flips directions. And then over on the left, I get x is greater than or equal to 18 over -3, -6. Let's look at the top. Is that one of our options? X is greater than or equal to -6. X is greater than or equal to -6. Notice how sneaky I was, though. Look at all the options I gave you. X is greater than or equal to -6. X is less than or equal to -6. X is greater than -6. X is less than -6. So be really careful. Double check, double read it. Make sure you understand which each option is, because I'm giving you a lot of options that could be very close, but the one that we're looking for, X is greater than or equal to -6. Bam. Okay. There will be one more problem. So there's a 6th problem on the test. It's the extra credit. Don't forget it. It will ask you something that you can't get wrong. If I ask you what, I can't remember, the first one I think was, what's your favorite food? And if you said my favorite food is the moon, I would be like, yay, and I'd give you a point. And I have no idea if that means you go out and you eat the moon, or if there's something else that I don't understand. But I will give you credit for anything. If I say, what's your, your favorite country to visit, and you say Mars, I'll give you the point. So you cannot get these wrong. Every now and again, I used to, when I was much younger and I did not know as well as I did, sometimes my extra credit was, how many teeth do you have? And some people would say, I have 483 teeth, and I would give them the point, even though I think that means they were secretly sharks. So that's it. On the practice test, feel free to take it as many times as you like. Take practice, take as long as you want, but remember that the actual test, 90 minutes, you only get one try. Okay, good luck. Ask questions before the test. You guys are going to do awesome. Woohoo. Take care. Math on.